So Trump went to the last election and said, I promised you I would pull out of the Paris climate change agreement. He pulled out of that.
100%.
I'll move the embassy to Jerusalem. He did that.
I love you.
I will build a wall with Mexico to stop people coming across the border.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
He did that. When did you last have a president that delivered everything they promised?
Are you saying on balance you think that Trump is going to win it? Can we talk about that? Do you mind talking about us talking now about a little bit of that, or is it, or the?
Talk about anything you want.
Okay, mate. Well, I mean, like,
that's never stopped you before.
I know, but I just don't want to put you in a bad position. That's all because I mean you're the ex-ambassador, but or former ambassador. But
hello.
It seems to me that Trump, you know, as you probably know, I know the guy. I met him years ago when we did the show. Trump is. It appears to me that Trump's being absolutely attacked by all the mediums other than Fox. And we keep getting told about the polls, but then on the other hand, Trump will get on and say, no, the polls are all wrong. They're the wrong polls. They're not the right polls to listen to. Where do you see it sit? I mean, you've been in politics. You're experiencing firsthand over there what's going on. Where do you see this all sit? Are we looking for a Biden a landslide, and then the stock market's going to crash, and you know, China's going to take control of the world? I mean, where do you see all this stuff? Where's it all sitting, mate?
Donald Trump was elected as a disruptive force. I mean, the most powerful line he had at the last election was, what do you got to lose voting for me? What do you got to lose? How's it going for you? You know, we've got this slow growth. You got huge gun violence. You've lost control of your borders. If you're a black American, you know, your wages are depressed. You got an opioid crisis. You got huge violence like in Chicago and New York. How's that going for you, right? What do you got to lose picking someone from outside the swamp? And he won. And he won as a disruptive force. I think over the last 4 years, there has been no let up on him, but he has invited that as well in many ways. I mean, because, you know, he's a showman.
And combative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he loves a fight. I mean, he's always been in the ring. You know, it's driven him mad when Joe Biden was in the basement and he was in the ring and he was itching, you know, to throw a few punches and he couldn't. And so, you know, I speak to Paul Murray every Monday night at 10 o'clock during this period. So you got to stay awake for that.
I do watch you.
You know, Donald Trump, because he's made some major errors, but the ones that are hard to deal with. Number one, he didn't build a team around him that he could trust. And so he hasn't got any of the good political advice that you need from time to time. Too many people are afraid to say to him what he needs to hear. That's number one. And you always, you know, when I was a minister for 13 years and ambassador, I needed people that would come in and say, listen, you've got to change here. You got this wrong. And if I didn't listen to them, I usually made big mistakes. But I didn't fire them for giving me that advice. Donald Trump did. And that's the first mistake. The second mistake is, because he didn't do the first thing, he never sat down with anyone and worked out what he wants to do for the next 4 years. So if you were to ask me, what is his plan for America for the next 4 years? I've got to tell you, I don't know. Because he's spending so much time talking about himself and dealing with the coronavirus that he's not talking about what matters to the person I call Mary Milwaukee. Right, Mary Milwaukee. We have Betty Bankstown in Australian politics, right? And you know, I'd constantly think to myself, what is Betty thinking about these policies? You know, how's she going with it, right? And here I created the fictional character Mary Milwaukee. Mary Milwaukee works at Walmart, earns $11.11 an hour, which is 20% above, you know, the average. She's been there for years. She's had a son that's done 3 tours of duty at Afghanistan, and she frets about him every day. Daughter that wants to go to college, but the fees are just so prohibitive, doesn't know how that's ever going to be paid for. And her husband is one of, you know, 3 million truck drivers in America that every time they see a new technology that says driverless cars or trucks, he's wondering whether he's going to have a job, you know. And she was made to feel guilty about going to church, being, you know, a heterosexual. She was made to feel guilty about, you know, her brother working in the coal mines in West Virginia, made to feel guilty about the fact that she didn't get a tertiary education. And she's wondering, she's paying more for her healthcare, and she's wondering, how's this life going? Where am I going to end up? Everything that was certain in her life became uncertain. Trump went to those people and said, I'm going to make you great again. I'm going to bring us back to what we were, bring back the manufacturing jobs. I'm going to control the borders. I'm going to stand up to the world. We're not going to keep paying and fighting in other people's wars. They've got to pay themselves. And, you know, we're going to focus on America first. And we're going to focus on you, Mary Milwaukee. Somehow he lost that. And not only did he lose Mary Milwaukee, or is he losing Mary Milwaukee, but, you know, he's most significantly losing her mum and dad because of the coronavirus, because they're scared. They're scared of the coronavirus. And, you know, they're scared of being, you know, that terrible graphic scene in New York of piling bodies into the back of a truck. I mean, that really spooked America.
Will Biden win these people over, though, Joe?
You know, he's gone from being, in the mind of Americans, too old to Trump has somehow managed to make him a safe pair of hands. That's what he did. I mean, by being erratic on the coronavirus, by, you know, being flippant about, you know, injecting yourself with detergent or whatever it was, you know. Yeah. I mean, it went from infotainment to sort of a bad joke, you know, and people lost their sense of humour along the way. And they wanted a safe pair of hands. You know, they're increasingly saying they want a safe pair of hands. And Joe Biden has managed to make himself a safe pair of hands, you know.
Well, so are you saying on balance you think that Biden's going to win it? Yeah. Right now?
As of today, Biden would win in a landslide. I mean, really significant landslide.